Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of A Way Back Home with me, your host, Acquennetta Finesse. Hey. So I know y'all see that title. Yup. There's no prize for your suffering. None. You don't get nothing at the end. You just suffer. And even though I just kind of laughed, I'm for real. I'm as serious as a heart attack, which is why this is the message for today. So, growing up, the term long suffering was taught to me as something that I should aspire to be, or a space that I should aspire to exist in, mind, body, and spirit, right? And I truly mean that. Mental agony, like, can you push through? Physical pain, can you push through? A spiritual attack, can you muscle through? It was even how God was represented to me at times, which I thought was very interesting, for the simple awareness that God is in control of all of this. So why would God choose to suffer? I always wondered, which is why I said, I don't know about this, guys. Now, though I was a child, I knew suffering was not only avoidable, but something that someone doesn't need to embrace because it only grants more suffering. That is something that we know for sure. You never have to question that. Now, before we begin, I want to give everyone a new working definition of the term long suffering. Long suffering, to exist outside of the boundaries of patience and or to dishonor one's self in hopes to honor another. Now, I'm going to give some examples, of course, because I want to show you how that definition can and has been applied to my life, so that you all can visualize it and, not hear it so much as words that are just like, oh, yeah, she just made that up, girl. Now, when I was younger, around 10 years old, I sprained my ankle really bad. Like so bad. Like it was so bad. It was funny. So I want to tell you. So, that game. Where you got them, it's like it's what you call them? It's like not a, black folks don't really play it. I mean, we do, but you'll see it with the white folks, like, and specifically white folks in the States. It's like them little bean bags, and you toss them, like in the hole across the field. So we was playing that at camp, and I remember being like, I'm finna get y'all. I'm competitive in this regard. I like a little fun competition. Actually, I just like competition. But I be having to chill on that. So, and look, as we could see, right? So I'm walking like backwards, like talking that good, and I basically tripped myself. And through me tripping myself, I also fell not just only over my own foot. I ended up falling over the thing that you like throw the little bean bags into. So I sprained my ankle really bad. From the toe to the knee, baby, it was purple. I'm talking to toe to the knee. Look, can you get that out? Toe to the knee. Okay. Purple, not no light purple. I said, ooh, they finna cut this off. It was purple. And also I had injured my left hand from attempting to stop the fall, or because it was either my face or my hand. So I said, well, we could do the hand. Now, I knew my family was not financially in a place to help me in the way that I needed, which of course at 10 years old, that is so not my responsibility. That is not my weight to bear. Nonetheless, though, I mean, at my core, I am family oriented. I am for the collective. I am for the highest good of all of us. So at that age, if I saw things that I perceived to be a hindrance to the collective, I would keep it to myself. Now, it was evident to me about like the financial status at that time with my family by how often we moved, the foods we ate. And it wasn't even like, I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience growing up, but it wasn't that there was no food in the house. It was the same food. Now, after a while, right, you start getting like your favorite Lunchable. You like, cool. But then you like, damn, we only got Lunchables. You're like, I never thought about it. It's like, I love ramen noodles until that's the only thing that you're eating. Now, before I even got a chance to feel my injury, to feel my own pain in that space, in that moment, I recall that I began to carry the shame of not having, which of course wasn't true in nature. It was true enough in belief though, right? And remember, a core belief is not always true, but we do make decisions and we look at life through the lens of our core belief, or in other words, our internal circumstances. Now, when I went to the doctor, it was evident how serious the injury was. I left with crutches and all that, girl. Like, they gave me the whole little shebang bang. And anybody that knows me, I mean, it hasn't changed. I like to move. I do not like to be, what is the word? Immobilized. I like full range of my body movement, mind, body, spirit. I want to be able to do everything because I can. And so before we left, I remember the doctor asking me, was there anything else that hurt? Because I believe my camp counselor told them how I fell. So he presumed there was more, and he was right. But I said no. And ultimately, it took 5 years for my hand to properly heal. I had injured my left hand, and I never said a word to anyone. And so to you guys that are listening, you probably know, and my mom don't even know, my dad don't even know. Like, you guys are some of the first to truly know this because I just kept it to myself. And now it's been more than 5 years. So it was like, I guess tell people for what, Now, before heading to the doctor, I was within the boundaries of patience, right? Back to that working definition that I gave earlier. And when the opportunity was available to step into healing, to step into a space and place of love and protection, I made a decision to suffer in hopes that I would be honoring my parents, honoring the lack of finances somehow by not adding more weight or being a burden. However, I processed that at the time. Nonetheless, it was a decision. Ultimately, it did not serve me. That suffering did not serve me. Realizing that you no longer have to suffer is the prize. The awareness that you can ascend from your current level of consciousness or circumstance and not be defined by it because you were never meant to suffer. That awareness is the gift. Your well-being, your health is the prize. Not suffering through, not suffering as a means to, sometimes there is no end, which is interesting, right? The end is you making a decision to get up because now you've stepped outside of those boundaries of patience, right? And throughout society, not just in the sector of religion, we often take pride in this term, in being in pain, hurting for as long as we can, breaking ourselves down in hopes to build ourselves back up better. I think a beautiful example is the women's suffrage movement. Excuse me? It's like, I don't. Now, for all my black women, they ain't talking about us. But nonetheless, it still applies to what I'm saying today. The women's suffrage movement. Women were going through hell. That, right? And so that term, smacking that term on there when white women we're able to vote and able to go into the workforce, it gives the implication that there is a prize, right? Universal suffrage. It was a term used to support the right to vote for all adults, regardless of race or gender, right? Hence the women's suffrage movement. And oftentimes the lines are blurred because of things like capitalism, hustle culture, the bounce back culture when you have a baby, being encouraged to finish college in 4 years. And if you don't, you're like a fucking loser, God forbid you like don't do well in a class. It's interesting. Suffering does not breed life. Suffering does not breed love. Suffering does not breed peace. Shall we say that together? Let's all say that again. Suffering does not breed life. Suffering does not breed love. And suffering does not breed peace. And it's gotten so warped over the decades and even more. But of course, I say decades because everyone listening at this moment, we're only going to be here for a certain amount of time. So over the decades, we have believed, especially in a U.S. context, that war, pain, hatred, shame, and death produces life. Love is law. Love is life. Love is the mother of all things that exist. God is love. We can simply look at someone giving birth, right? Love. And I'm not even if somebody wants to be like, well, what if there was a circumstance where someone was sexually assaulted? That decision on the mother, of course, right? Don't get too sticky, icky, and tricky. Not over here. Because we all are for your body, your choice, your decision. Do what you want to do. And so when you make that decision, that is from a place of love, right? Love is the mother of all that there is. So it is through the awareness that you don't have to suffer that you have a choice to be free, to free yourself, whether that is freeing yourself from mental agony, physical pain, or being your internal circumstances and that being where you reside spiritually within you. That is the prize, that you are able to free yourself. You are in the know. Now, suffering is on a spectrum, like all things, and I want to encourage you to ask God, ask your higher self, your guides, to show you where you may be suffering. And when you become aware, know that through that awareness alone, you have lit a path out of that space, that situation, that relationship. To feel good is to feel God. I want to repeat that. To feel good is to feel God. So if you are suffering by choice, just ask yourself very gently, from a place of compassion and grace, what are you hoping to truly receive from that suffering? I have had jobs, friendships, and even college classes that I chose to suffer through because I believed I had put too much effort in. So why am I going to leave now? I've put too much work in. I've done too much. I've right now you get into the I didn't spend all this time, all this money, all of whatever, right? By choice. Okay? By choice. We got to take responsibility by choice. And it got to a point, unbeknownst to me, because I was not honoring myself, I wanted my pain and my grief and my suffering and ultimately the dishonoring of myself to be something meaningful. And I want you guys to really, really, really recognize that one specific piece. The dishonoring of oneself. We always want that. Always. When we dishonor ourselves, a lot of times we don't recognize it. At the same time, whether we are aware or not, we are still looking for it to be meaningful. You will never find satisfaction and fulfillment by dishonoring yourself. Now, we've all done it before, overdone our stay in a space. Oftentimes, it's a relationship, and that's in every regard, not just romantic. What makes those moments so challenging is we become so attached to the things we do. We believe we are the things we do, so we choose to suffer to see the fruits of those labors, right? Now, I want to give you another perspective and another level of awareness, just in case you have either forgotten or may not know. You are not fully getting all of the depth of your experience that was meant for you by going deeper in it and suffering. You get another perspective that is of equal value when you step out of it, because you're honoring yourself. Use that as your guide. Am I honoring myself? Not, am I still in the same place? Not, did I make money from it because I wanted to? Because, baby, one thing I'm going to do is change my mind. My mama be telling everybody that. She be having to remind people, Netta going to change her mind. One thing Miss Acquennetta Finesse going to do, change her mind. Because at that moment, depending on what was given, my decision at the time may have been me honoring myself. And that's what I'm going to do. If I come across new information and that previous decision that I had made at the time, those two together, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't honor the space that I'm at now. I guess I'm not doing it. I'm changing my mind, right? And so, especially when it comes to, right, like relationships, a lot of times we think the fullness of what we are meant to receive is in it. Is solely being in it. There are relationships that I have released that I have seen in such a beautiful light, all from releasing them. There are things that I just was not aware of because I was in it. I was so close. And now having a bird's eye view and being so far removed, and thus ultimately honoring myself, I am able to receive the fullness of that labor of love, the fullness of what it means to honor myself. And so what makes those moments, challenging is, again, we become so attached to the things we do. Remember, you are not the things you do. You are the soul. And the beautiful thing about this level of awareness is you can set yourself free. You don't need anyone's permission but your own. I'm going to repeat that again. You can set yourself free. That is your God-given power. You can set yourself free. You don't need anyone's permission but your own. Don't underestimate the value of your personal power in your life to get up and go somewhere new. And if you are scared, I understand. Sometimes we are asked by our higher self to release things, people, places that we have inadvertently made homes out of. And they have become safe places. And it's scary to see outside of that. It's scary to imagine or to not be able to imagine a new foundation. Understand that you are not founded on anything in the material. That is not what you stand on. You stand on the internal circumstances of that which you are, which is a soul, which is a child of the divine. So allow your external circumstances to ebb and flow and know that you are exactly where you are meant to be, that you are protected, you are held, you are loved, you are provided for. So much so, everything you need, you have at this exact moment. Everything you need, you have. Everything. And if there's something that you feel like you don't have, guess what? I guess you don't need it. I guess you don't need it. and challenge yourself. Challenge that perspective. I guess I don't need it. And then you ask God, okay, well, show me what it is. Okay. Because I've had to do that before. Okay. I'll be like, God, well, since we ain't doing this, what are we doing? You know, be bold. Know that you are deserving of something better, something more, something that exudes the highest vibration, which is love. God is love, and love does not hurt. And so I'll leave you with this question to ask yourself. And thus I am asking you and also myself, what would you like to be free from? What would you like to be free from? Whatever your answer is, know that you have everything you need at this given moment to make movement out of that suffering and into your personal space of freedom. Embrace the joys of self-love. Embrace the joys of saving yourself. The joys of protecting your peace, your mind, your body, and the soul that you are. Thank you guys for listening, and depending where you are listening to this, connect with me more on today's episode on YouTube in the comment section or on Spotify in the Q&A section. I thank you, and I will connect with you guys soon. Love you guys.